Oh my god. Oh my god, guys. You'll never believe what I have here. I have Oreos here! Also, SBS 92 got dropped, but mostly I have Oreos! And I'm really sorry I have to do this to all of you, but you are not legally allowed to watch this video unless you have Oreos on standby. Alright, so get out of your bed or your couch, wander downstairs, rummage around in your cabinets for like 5 minutes, and if you don't have Oreos, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go to the grocery store. I don't know what you want me to do. Maybe even the gas station. Sometimes the gas station has those little mini rolls of Oreos that only have like 4 in a pack, but you need to have some sort of type of Oreo next to you, or else you're just not gonna understand this video. Hydrox don't count. Not Hydrox. Gotta be Oreos. None of the off-brand. Hydrox was technically first, but nobody remembers. There's a reason why they're Oreos, okay? Anyway, get ready, guys, because some real intense stuff is gonna get dropped in your lap today. Okay. This is a good SBS. Coming off of SBS 91, it wasn't bad, but there wasn't that much information in 91, and it sucks because it's like we wait for 3 months for the new volume and subsequently the new SBS to be released and then translated by Artur, who is amazing, and links are below to his website, the Library of Ohara, as well as his Patreon. We wait 3 months for that, and it's always disappointing when we get a lackluster SBS, but this one definitely passed his mustard. It is pretty good. If I just say passing mustard, whatever. Alright, so, first thing I wanted to address here is question number 2, which is a sound effects question, and I'm only bringing this up. It gets way better, but you gotta lead in. You can't start off with the dawn. You gotta start off with the eh. And actually, it makes sense because this is regarding sound effects, and it involves that damn shamisen. Alright, I was not exaggerating when I kept saying I could not remember the name. It wasn't a running gag, like, oh, silly Tekking, he can never remember the name of it, he must be funny. No, I seriously kept forgetting the damn name of that. I kept calling it a Japanese, like, banjo or whatever, like, no, it's a shamisen. I actually did have to leave a note downstairs next to my reviewing corner so I could just glance at it and I could, oh, it's a shamisen. But apparently, someone brings up that the sound effects being used in Wano are actually from something called a biwa, which is like a Japanese lute. And if you look at them side by side, the biwa on the left and a shamisen on the right, you can very clearly tell they're not the same instrument. You know, they're both stringed instruments, but, you know, very much like a guitar is different from a banjo, you know? So, Oda just says, oh yeah, well, yeah, the sound effects are a little different, and I'm using the shamisen, not a biwa, in the manga, so I'm hoping when the anime comes out, the sound team over at Toei will figure out some way to make it work. So I don't know if they are going to change it in the anime, so it is, maybe Komurasaki is playing the biwa in the openings, or if they're going to keep it as a shamisen, but they're going to have to change the sound design up. I don't know, but it's an interesting question, because, you know, One Piece and a bunch of other manga, not just One Piece, they have those sound effects, those onomatopoeias in the background, like when Luffy's punching someone, it'll be like bang, or boom, or zoom if he's running around really fast. Those are like the English equivalents. Obviously, they're Japanese in the original. But after reading manga for so long, I kind of tend to just tune those things out, but Oda's a really big fan of them. If you pick up any volume of One Piece, and you're actually looking around for those giant onomatopoeia sound effects, they're everywhere. They're huge. But now more importantly, on to the main question about boobs. There's a lot of references to boobs, and you know what? I love it. I love it so much, because Oda gets thousands of messages a week, I am sure. One Piece is the most popular manga in the world. He gets questions not from just the people in Japan, but also all over the place. I sent him an SBS letter at one point. It was about a year ago, so I don't think it'll ever get in. It was about Baby 5, but yeah, people send him messages all the time, and it's like you get SBSs like this where he crams, like, there's like 4 questions relating to just boobs. You know, just like, hey Oda, you like big boobs, huh? I was like, yep, I sure do. That takes up a whole slot of a question that could be filled by thousands of other potential candidates. But you know what, Oda? I love you, man. So let's read this. Okay. I've got a question. The females that Oda draws almost always have a massive bust. I have certainly have you guys noticed this? I have noticed this from time to time. Every now and then, I'm reading One Piece and I'm like, you know, a lot of girls in this series have incredibly large jigglypuffs. I don't know if it's just me, but yes, he goes on. Let's continue. But in the Wano country, females wear kimonos, which cause their breasts to be more concealed. So I was wondering, is it fair that Japanese women don't have breasts that large? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, so this is something I actually was aware of, okay? I read a lot of slice of life manga. One manga that I have read is Sasuga K's GE Good Ending, and in that manga, there is a scene where the main characters go to, like, a festival in Japan, and they gotta wear a kimono, and there was one character that had really large boobs, and they had to go into, like, the little thing about, like, oh, yes, I had to, like, compress my breast to make sure that they're not, like, accentuated when you're wearing a kimono, they're not, like, popping out all over the place. So yes, this is a thing in Japan, right? So it's unfortunate, but the thing is, Oda at first was going to draw the girls with, like, just as accentuated forms while wearing the kimonos, you know, and I guess he got a lot of letters from people in Japan that are like, you know, women really wouldn't wear the kimono that way because it's about, like, the womanly silhouette. That's the thing that's, like, the height of beauty while wearing a kimono. It's the silhouette, so you want to compress your large assets, or boob sets, or whatever you happen to have. And Oda decided, oh yes, you know what, the one silhouette really does bring out the beauty of a kimono, hence why I put an emphasis on it in my drawings. However, this is still Oda we're talking about, so he ends out the answer by saying, wouldn't it be awesome, though, if they just took them all off? That's going to happen now. I love that. He's like, yes, I do understand the purpose of the kimono and the true beauty of the female silhouette. I do think it makes more sense to draw them that way, with their breasts, you know, not quite as accentuated. Man, it would be awesome if they just ripped that off, though, and then boing! So I feel like that's gonna happen with Robin now. I feel like that's gonna happen where Robin is maybe fighting against one of the ninjas and she's wearing her geisha outfit, the kimono, and in the middle of the fight, one of the ninjas launches an attack and Robin dodges it, but it, like, rips off her kimono and it's just boing, boing, and then she gets into the fight proper, whatever she happens to be wearing underneath it. With Nami, okay, Nami, he was cheating, because that's not technically a kimono what Nami is wearing. It's a different garb for kunoichi, and in the case with, you know, Kinemon, who made the outfit for her, you know, it's super, super short and super, super short skirts, so, yeah, I mean, that makes more sense. But with Robin, I'm waiting, and Komurasaki, too, who is definitely dead 100%, yeah, she's not coming back. But yeah, there's a lot of boob questions in this one, which is why it got a passing vote for me immediately. The second I saw that third question about the kimonos and the boobs, I'm like, Oda, you have won me back. Okay, so I don't know when you ever lost me, but you won me back. Alright, this is a cool question. Alright, so remember the Urashima fight? Remember when Luffy was Sumo fighting against that giant Yokozuna dude? So in the Sumo arena, there was that, like, floating roof that just was, like, hovering there above the ring, and a lot of people were like, what is that thing? And so I looked into it back when this was going on, and Artur, when he did the chapter review of that, when he wrote his analysis, he talked about how, yeah, in Japan, whenever there's a traditional, like, sumo match, which sumo matches are highly revered in Japan, it's not just, like, two fat guys, you know, bumping into each other. No, this is treated with a lot of respect, and there's a lot of dignity into it, okay? And so usually when sumos are held in Japan, they're in a stadium, and they'll have the ring, you know, the circular ring where the sumo wrestling takes place, but above the ring, there's this, like, floating roof, and it's not floating, it's in a stadium, it's closed ceiling, so it's basically like hanging off the top of the stadium roof. There's this roof that's above the thing, right? I'll show pictures to make more sense out of this whole thing. But in Wano, when Luffy was fighting, you know, the Yokozuna dude, this roof was just floating there because there was no stadium. It was outside. Oda states that it's flying like a kite. So don't think of it as, like, it's not magic. It's not like Shiki showed up in Wano and used his float fruit powers. No, it's just a kite or a balloon. Think of it like that, and it's tied down with strings that you just can't see because they're too thin. But yeah, it's a traditional sumo match thing, which is why it's there. It's just clarification on how exactly it's floating in the middle of the air, you know? There's another question revolving around this fight, because when the fight is going on, the sumo match, you see a bunch of signs off to the side, people holding a bunch of, like, basically banners, right, that have a bunch of Japanese kanji on them. A lot of kanji goodness in Wano. But anyway, one of the signs seems to indicate a reference to Axe-Hand Morgan. We all remember Axe-Hand Morgan, right? He's one of the most, noteworthy characters in the entire story, right? So, no, apparently what it is it's not a direct reference to Morgan. Like, oh shit, Morgan is in Wano now? I wouldn't have a problem with Morgan coming back, just like, oh, it's the old school days. It's nostalgia. He was the first, well, I guess not the first major antagonist in the anime because you had Alvida, but it would be cool to see Morgan come back, right? And I think the last time we saw him, he managed to escape. He was being court-martialed by Garp, and he managed to escape. And the last time we saw him was a long, long time ago. It was like during the Django cover story when Django is like sailing the oceans, like, oh yeah. And you look off to the side and you see Morgan in a boat just kind of floating, like sleeping, like, oh, whatever, I don't care. So Morgan might come back at some point, but no. The reference is that I guess Oda had to come up with a bunch of names for shops and things in Wano, and so he gave his assistants, the task to do that, and he basically just said, just write out kanji and hiragana and everything that, are references to One Piece. Very obscure references throughout the entire story. Just have them be like the names of the random shops in the background, and this one in particular happened to be a reference to Axe-Hand Morgan, but it's not like he's not actually there. It's not like, oh, it turns out that Morgan is behind the scenes this entire time as the true shogun of Wano. But no, it's an interesting thing to bring up. So moving on, okay, this is something that it doesn't really have anything to do with the actual series, but it's a different kind of question, so I wanted to bring it up, or it's a different kind of thing that Oda is referencing. So you guys know the cover spreads, right? Whenever Oda gets a fan request and he'll draw, not the cover stories, because those are something Oda does on his own, but like, he'll get a request from a fan, like, draw Robin reading in the library of the Sunny with a bunch of lemmings. And Oda's like, okay. And so we cut to Robin sitting in the library reading a book, and she's very focused, and then there's a bunch of lemmings around her, and the lemmings are looking at the books. Maybe some of the lemmings are like jumping off of the bookshelf, and Robin is using her hands to catch them. Because I don't think lemmings actually do that. I think that's just an urban legend that lemmings will just, like get in giant groups and just jump off a cliff to their death. I don't think that lemmings actually do that. But, it would be funny, right? That's the point of a cover page. I think what happened is either someone that requested a cover page or someone that did something for the Usopp Pirates Gallery, which is, it's the Usopp Pirates Gallery instead. But anyway, they're now serialized in Jump as their own mangaka. It's Yoda Mizuki, and they came out with a series called Neolation. I've never heard of this before. I don't even know if it's out yet, but I'll definitely go and check on it after this is over, like Neolation. It looks pretty cool just from the cover and everything. So, yeah, it kind of honestly reminds me of Bleach a little bit. So, yeah, I might check that out. Neolation by Yoda Mizuki. So that was just kind of a different question. The next question, though, is about Zoro's swords. And it's basically like, I like this. It's like, if Zoro's swords, his Wado Ichimonji, his Sandai Katetsu, and his Shusui, all became humans, like they took on human form all of a sudden, so basically like in Bleach with the Zanpakuto and everything, what would they look like? And so Oda is like, alright, coming right up. So, first up, the Wado Ichimonji in human form. Then we have the Sandai Katetsu, who looks rather like a rambunctious, like, I will cause mischief now. I wonder if the Nidai Katetsu and the Shodai Katetsu would be basically like this dude's older brothers. Like he's the kind of weaselly little brother, he's the youngest, and then there's the middle brother who's a little bit more, taller and more buff, and then there's the eldest brother who's like, Gadoosh! I don't cause mischief, I cause, mass destruction, that kind of thing. And then finally we have Shusui, who is like a very prim and proper gentleman kind of person with lipstick. Shusui is an Okama, I guess. Okay, well, whatever, to each their own, I suppose. But my question is, what about Yubashiri? What about Yubashiri? Does Yubashiri not get any love? I'm feeling like because he did leave Yubashiri out, there's going to be another SBS where somebody is going to undoubtedly send him a question. Like, well, you drew Zoro's 3 swords, what about Yubashiri? And then Zoro will draw them as well. So I'm sure Yubashiri will get their own Zanpakuto katana spirit at some point. Moving on now to our next question. What do we got here? Oh, we got not one, but two questions revolving around boobs. Back to back. Yeah, okay. First question was involving Momonosuke, okay, because Momonosuke, of course, he's an 8-year-old, but he was talking about how he met Roger at one point, so that got people thinking, like, is he really like an adult, but he's using he can transform into a child somehow, sort of like a, Jory Bonnie kind of devil fruit sort of thing, and is like, oh, was he using that power just so he could get close to Nami and Robin? And then later, of course, we find out that he's a time traveler and everything, so he's like, doesn't that mean he's just a pervy, horny little brat, And Oda's like, please take a moment to think about this, good sir. Recall the times that you were an 8-year-old boy. That's right, you were a pervert too. All young boys are perverted. Damn it, Oda, you're onto something. Okay, I remember watching, I was probably 10 years old, and I was watching Scary Movie 3, which featured Pamela Anderson and Jenny McCarthy in the opening scene, basically running around, these two, like, models that have huge boobs, that are fake, but whatever, running around in, like, skimpy schoolgirl outfits. I think that might have been one of the very first sexual awakenings I've ever had, and I was probably around 10 years old. Yeah, it came out in 2003, so I was probably around 10, 11 years old, so that was... Yeah, Oda, you're onto something. Okay, cool, yes. But that's not all. Moving on to the next question. And I love this. This actually, okay, I gotta come clean. This is my question. I sent in the Baby 5 question, but I also sent in another question kind of on the down low, and I even came up with a pen name. I was Sonata. Yeah, that was my pen name I sent. I didn't want anyone to know it was me, but this is my question. I've got a wholesome question. I have discovered the answer as to why all men wish to be Nami's slave. It's 'cause she's got a pair of massive kibi dongos up there, isn't it? And Oda's response is just like, I imagine he did this while he was answering the question, like Oda's just like, get out of my room, Sonata. But yeah, that was my question. It's like, no, it wasn't, but... It could have been. You buy that it was, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Alright, so now we get into the big question. This is probably the biggest one out of the entire SBS, I would say, quite easily. There's a lot of other cool ones, like we get to see Nami drawn at age 40 and 60, like Zoro and Shanks and Ace and Luffy and all that, but this is the question that really went, people going bonkers, and it's funny because it's a question regarding, like, a side character, like a Panda Man kind of character, okay? So, you guys know who this is, right? No, you don't, because in Wano, there's a character that looks remarkably like this dude. This dude is named Minatomo, though, and Minatomo appeared during the East Blue arc when he was repairing that random door that Higuma broke down, like, because this was, like, one of the very first SBS questions, where Higuma breaks down the door, but in the next scene, the door is fixed, and it was just an artistic mistake, I think, on Oda's part, but people were like, what happened to that door? And Oda's like, oh yeah, there was a traveling craftsman named Minatomo, and he showed up, and he just can't leave a broken door not fixed, and so he busted out his trusty hammer and nails, and he's like, oh, you freaking kids, damn it, doors, and then he fixes it, and then he leaves. So in Wano, we see another character that looks remarkably like Minatomo, exactly the same, actually. You could always throw out the idea, like, oh, they're just twin brothers or something, which actually might be the case. So the way that Oda explains this, he's like, yeah, it's weird that this guy was in the East Blue, and now he's a carpenter in Wano all of a sudden. That's weird, isn't it? Yes, as a matter of fact, they aren't the same person. They simply share the last name because they're relatives. But that's not the important part. This is where it gets in crazy. What happened is that some decades ago, a ship from the Wano country ended up in the East Blue. The offspring of one of those people on that ship is actually someone we're all well acquainted with. Okay. No, calm down. Have an Oreo. That's why I said to have the Oreo on standby. Just, everybody take your Oreos and just... Zoro's from Wano! No, Oreos! Oreos are good. Maybe you should have some milk too, but okay. Now, let me finish his answer before we get into, like, Zoro's from Wano! Crazy hype. Okay. This bit will have some relevance later in the story, so I'm not going to say any more than that. However, it won't be a major story or anything. It's just a little something I want to tell, kind of like a side story. All right. Now, this does narrow it down, all right? So, a few decades ago, there was a ship from Wano that ended up in the East Blue. A few decades ago. So, when he says a few decades, I would say at least 20 years. Probably longer than that, though. I would say probably 30 years ago at least. Okay? Because that Minatomo guy that ended up in the East Blue from Wano, he looks like a rather old dude, okay? Now, it could be that Zoro's parents were on that ship, and then they had Zoro in the East, and then maybe something happened to his parents. The problem I have with that is the way that Oda's talking about this is like, it's not anything like I'm going to have in the main story, like a big event. It's kind of just like a little side thing I want to tell. So that makes me think it might actually not be Zoro he's referring to, because the revelation of Zoro's, like, parents, you think that would be a really big deal, you know? Like, he's the parents of the Straw Hats, you know? Like, it would be one thing, like, Frankie's parents, like, they were mentioned offhand, but we never got to see them before. It would be rather weird if it was like, oh yeah, Zoro's parents, here they are, they left Zoro in the East for some reason, and then they left, and that's all there is to it. That's the end of the story. So, I'm thinking Oda might have put this in here as, like, a way to, like, get us excited, like, as a red herring, like, it's actually someone we're all well acquainted with, because we're going to immediately think Zoro. But there's actually two other options here, okay? It could actually be Kuina. It could be that Koshiro arrived in the East Blue years ago, because Koshiro was born in the East. But he's an older dude. So it's very possible that he could have went to Wano at some point in his younger years, trained in the art of the sword, and then came back to the East Blue on this ship, and then opened up the Isshin Dojo. And then he had Kuina, and then Zoro showed up, and then that's how, you know, they learned the art of the sword. It could be that they're talking about Kuina as the person that we're well acquainted with. And then, you know, Kuina was, you know, and she died, and then Zoro took up the Wado Ichimonji, and blah, blah, blah. I guess in a way it could also be Koshiro himself, because if a descendant of Wano arrived in the East, and then it was Koshiro's parents, and then that covers why Koshiro was born in the East in the Vivara card, but he had parents that were from Wano and taught him about the way of the sword, and then Koshiro grew up and then had Kuina. Now, the only issue with that is for Oda to say someone that we're all well acquainted with, Koshiro isn't that main of a character. Kuina's not either, but Kuina left more of an impact than Koshiro did. Alright, so I'm either going to think it's Kuina or Zoro, but I'm leaning toward Kuina right now. Because the revelation of Zoro's parents, like, if you're going to do that, I think it should be more than just a side story. Alright, I don't want it to be a recap of what we just did in Totland with finding out about Sanji's parents and everything like that. Not in the same way, like, I don't want to have Zoro's parents in Wano and Zoro just bumps into them and be like, Mommy, Daddy, I missed you! I don't want that to happen. If you're gonna do it in a flashback, I guess that's the only way to do it, but to make it just a side story, I don't know. But, what do you guys think about that? Because I'm leaning on Kuina right now. That's like, it was Koshiro that was born in the East, went to Wano, came back, had Kuina, and then that's the reference. That's like this little side story that he wants to bring up, because that ties everything back together on, you know, Koshiro's background, and how he has the dojo, and then how Zoro got trained and everything. Maybe Koshiro got the Wado Ichimonji in Wano, and he brought it back, and maybe something like that. I don't know. But, yeah, that's the big one for this SBS. Okay, so we got a few more, though. This one is the favorite and least favorite foods for the members of the Grand Fleet. And there's really nothing crazy here, except that Cavendish's favorite food is roses. Okay, to each their own. But there's a few interesting things here. Donsai's favorite meal is his wife's bento, so that's Baby Five's bento box that he makes for them, so that's adorable. They're a happy couple. Or Lumbus's least favorite food is untimely cooking, and his favorite food is a boiled egg, because if you've ever made a hard-boiled egg, you really got to get the timing right with those things. You can't just, like, dunk the egg in the boiling water and just walk away for, like, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. No, you really have to time it, like, exactly, and you got to pull out that boiled egg, so it makes sense why why Orlumbus's favorite food is something that has to be timed exactly, and his least favorite food is just untimely cooking. You know, breakfast for dinner! He just flips the table like, this is outrageous! We don't have waffles for dinner here on my ship, boy. Get out of here. But this is the fun part. Hyrudine. Hyrudine's favorite food is meatballs. Okay, I like meatballs. Maybe Swedish meatballs, because he's Swedish, kind of, because Nordic. Okay, whatever. His least favorite food is semla. I wonder why that is. I wonder why Hyrudine, why do you not like semla? It looks delicious. A pastry with cream and, like, marzipan in the middle. How could you not like that? Oh my god, somebody help! The entire village is on fire! We have to hurry! Stop Linlin! Prevent her from— oh my god, she just wrecked my house! Oh my god, my child! My child!
Don't touch me, my sword and armor! We must slay the she-devil! Oh my god, oh my god! She broke my arm!
Oh, right. That happened. You know, it's little things like that that make me love this story all the better, because how many characters are in One Piece? Hundreds. The fact that Oda, he doesn't just sit down and just like, okay, what are the favorite foods of the Grand Fleet? I'm like, all right, whatever, who cares? This isn't important information, just send it to the editor. You can tell that Oda actually takes the time to sit down and look at each individual character and think about what kind of character that person is and what kind of foods they would genuinely like. Like, he sits down for Orlumbus and he's like, okay, thinking about Orlumbus, the character of Orlumbus that I created, what kind of foods would he like? Well, he's somebody that really loves timing and everything being perfectly laid out. He's very particular. He's kind of a clean freak. He makes sure that there's not a speck of dust on his ship. He wakes up at the exact same time every day. That's the kind of guy Orlumbus is. So he would like a food that requires perfect timing. Hard-boiled egg. Boom. There you go. It doesn't have to be an extravagant meal, but it makes sense for the character. In Hyrudine's case, he sits down and he's like, what would Hyrudine's least favorite food be? Well, probably something that he attached a very negative, very traumatic memory to, which would be semla. Because that's happened to me. That's happened to me and a lot of other things. Have you ever, like, okay, this is not exactly with food, but has anybody ever watched a show or a movie while they were in a really bad mood? Like, I remember I watched the movie Short Circuit. It was an old movie in the 80s. It was about a robot that got a soul. Whatever. It was not a great movie. But I watched the movie Short Circuit the same day I got braces put on. So my mouth is in, like, horrible pain, and it's bleeding because I have braces, and I have to wear these damn things for, like, 2 years. And I watched Short Circuit, and now I forever associate that movie Short Circuit with horrible mouth pain. And so I don't watch Short Circuit anymore. That was the first and last time I've ever watched Short Circuit. It's just like when you watch or, you eat something and you associate it with a bad memory, you probably don't want to eat it or watch that thing anymore, after that. Because every time it's like, oh yes, semla. Hyrudine starts having war flashbacks to, like, Big Mom and everything. No. So it's just little stuff like that I really love, Leo's favorite food is pumpkins. Because Noland introduced pumpkins to Skypiea, he probably also introduced pumpkins and things to the Tontatas. That's pretty cool. His least favorite food is anything spicy, because of the Tontata Basco pellet that they made to try to take out sugar, because it was a weapon, the ultimate weapon they created just so they could take out sugar. So yeah, little things like that I just enjoy. Bartolomeo's is funny. His least favorite food is just vegetables, but if you look at Bartolomeo and his hair, he kind of does look like a vegetable, so that's little things like that I just love. Okay, so next question. There's not really anything else major, but next question is about Shiryu, and it's like, since Shiryu now has the powers of the Suki Nomi, he's an invisible man. Will he be using that power to peep in the women's bath the same way that Absalom and Sanji wanted to? And Oda's response is, well, he's still a man, so the answer is, of course, he will, no doubt. All right, now, ladies out there in the audience, would you rather have Absalom peek on you in the bath, or Shiryu peek on you in the bath? I would probably go with Absalom. than Shiryu, because Shiryu, like, he's kind of a straight up, like, 80s slasher, you know, like Jason Voorhees kind of dude. Absalom is just a pervert. You know, he's a really creepy pervert, but, you know, Shiryu, I can imagine him doing that. It's very disturbing, you know? He has his sword, Raiga, I think Orizo, or it means thunderstorm. I think it's like Raiga. But anyway, he's like standing there off to the side of the bath, like, and his expression doesn't change at all, and be like, okay. But anyway, yeah, that's that question there. What else? I think the only questions we have, yeah, so let's move on to the Nami questions. Okay, so they asked to draw Nami and Robin, if they were, age 40, age 60, just like they did with the other characters, and so we do. And, Nami ages rather well. Just like most of the other females, like Shaki in the One Piece world, she ages pretty damn well. At age 40, you really can't see any major difference with Nami at all. And age 60, you also really can't see any major difference with her skin. It's just that she gets a different hairstyle each time. At age 40, her hair is a little shorter and wavy, and at age 60, she's basically just rocking Shaki's hair. And Shaki is in her late 60s, and she is still looking damn fine, in my opinion. So I think Nami will be okay. I love the little captions, though. At age 40, she's like, once you're an adult, you can come back again. You know, as if, like, she has a bunch of male suitors that are, like, in their early 20s. Like, when you're an adult, sweetie, come on back. Or later on when she's 60, she's like, oh, I passed my 40s a while ago. Sort of like somebody goes up to Nami and being like, wow, you look pretty young, you're like 40, and she's like, oh no, dear, I left my 40s a while ago, I'm actually 60, but thank you, So that's nice. And then we get to see an image of Nami if things didn't go too well at age 40 and age 60. And this is an interesting one. This is starting to make sense, okay? So going back to the whole paradigm of women in One Piece, like the whole Jola thing I brought up, it seems like 14 times by now, it's starting to think that maybe it's not like a normal thing that occurs. It's depending on your lifestyle choices, Like, Jola made the wrong lifestyle choices, and that's why she looks like she does at age 60. But if she followed the right choices, she would look like Shaki right now. I would say it's because of her lifestyle choices, because she's a smoker, but Shaki smokes as well, and she looks banging. So, so I'm not really sure what's going on here in the futures where things go wrong, but I think if things continue the way they are, Nami is looking damn fine. Age 60 and not even a wrinkle. So, good job, Nami. And the last question in SBS Volume 92 is a question relating to Sanji, and it's more of just like an artistic thing. It's when Sanji first reappeared after the time skip, he had a goatee, right? And part of his goatee was kind of going up to the bottom of his lip here. He had a soul patch, but it was also kind of like going up. And as the series continues, that little section that goes up to his lip is missing, and Oda just mentions like, oh yeah, he just shaved it off. I think it's because he says he just kept forgetting to draw it. He would draw the soul patch, but he kept forgetting to add that little layer that goes up. So he's just like, yeah, screw it. Sanji just he just shaved it off one night. He was just tired of it. So now he just has the little patch down there. So yeah, that's all there is to it there. But anyway, that is SBS 92. We got a lot of boob questions in this one. We got a revelation possibly on Zoro. We got to see Zoro's swords if they were Zanpakuto spirits. We got to find out about a floating roof. We got to find out about Momo's pervertedness. Of course, that Shiryu is peeping in on women's babs all across the One Piece world now, so that'll make you sleep easy at night, I'm sure. Alright, well, anyway, thanks for watching. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Once again, big shout out to Artur at the Library of Ohara. Check out those links below to his website and to his Patreon page. No One Piece chapter today, unfortunately, but next week we'll get right back into it, and I have another video planned tomorrow I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. It involves also something large and round and full of mysteries. I'll see you then, guys. Signing out later.